Now, the Hornets selected Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson, and that got a lot of backlash. And to this point, really, it's been the right decision.
Has it?
But as of recently,
As of the last 2 weeks.
Honestly, I don't know about that.
Scoot Henderson is
he
playing
was
really
definitely
well.
better his rookie season.
For sure. But hey, we don't judge draft picks off rookie
Well,
season.
Brandon Miller's averaging 21 a night.
Brandon was also hurt for a portion
right
of this
now.
year.
What kind of efficiency?
Probably better than Scoot. Brandon Miller was averaging 21 before he got hurt.
And I'll be honest with you, some nights Brandon Miller looked like one of the best players in the league, and other nights he looked like just a guy.
Now, as of recently, Scoot Henderson has been looking really good. Last
25
games,
and 4. Come on,
25, 5,
Relax.
and 8.
I've always been here.
57% from the field
Quiet.
and 53% from 3. Now, he's faced the Nets, Clippers, Rockets, and Bulls. John, what do you attribute him playing so well to?
There's a couple of different
Going to
things.
John is nuts.
You
cool,
want to
man.
go right after me?
No,
You're good.
it's fine. No, he knows.
You disrespected Brandon Miller.
No, it's because he knows that I'm about to come ready with my facts. Scoot Henderson's been hooping. Go ahead, John. I apologize.
No, he's been on a really strong run recently, the last couple of weeks, and we see this a lot of time with young guards who come into the NBA, and especially with Scoot, who had been thrust into a ton of expectations. He was being compared to the likes of Derrick Rose, John Morant, Russ, these super athletic guards. But Scoot wasn't necessarily the same caliber of an athlete, and he wasn't as a John Morant or Derrick Rose. And what kind of held him back as a rookie was he wasn't necessarily NBA ready or anywhere near as prepared for the NBA as a lot of us kind of expected. Because we saw he doesn't have that same burst, that same pop off one leg when it comes to really driving and finishing at the rim. But this year we're starting to see his three-point shot and also the touch, which we saw in Summer League. He looked like the best player there at times on the court, which is what you would expect for a top 3 pick. It's really a matter of skill development for Scoot, and that's come along this year. He's got his three-point percentage up. The mid-range shooting is not better than what it was last year, but it's really a matter of him developing the touch because that's the big swing skill for him, and I have full faith that he's had it, but it's really been a matter for these young guards being able to adjust and acclimate to the NBA. He comes into Portland, they have Shaedon Sharpe, they have Anthony Simons, but now we're starting to see them slowly get the keys to him, and I think by next year he should be given the keys to the offense so they can fully see what he can do. But as of right now, he's playing really hot, and honestly, this is kind of what I was expecting from him when he came to the NBA. I've been a Scoot Henderson fan for a while, so it's really been awesome to see, kind of slowly but surely, that growth. I just want to see him kind of maintain this, and I do believe he can.
Scoot Henderson is shooting better from the field than Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller is shooting better than him from three-point percentage by .005.
Well, Miller has a 54% true shooting, so it's not really been good. It's kind of been similar to LaMelo Ball.
I understand that. Oh, no, I know that for sure.
Yeah.
Both have not been efficient. It's something about this offense. That being said, let's talk about Scoot Henderson. Now, I'm excited for Scoot. I'm happy for Scoot. I need more than 4 games. I say this because one of the biggest changes I've seen has really been his catch and shoot. He's been money over these last few games, just being one of those guys, being ready and letting it go. Trusting himself. That's one thing I'm happy about. He has confidence back in his game. He's trusting his shots. That's one thing where I need more than 4 games because this is a strong hot streak he's been on shooting the 3 ball. And a lot of it where it hasn't been self-creation off the dribble, letting these threes go. A lot of it has been taking what the defense is giving him and trusting his three-point shot. Now, there has been moments where we've seen him be aggressive, get to the cup. I want to see him trust his left hand a little bit more. I've been seeing some like awkward right-hand floaters that have been going in. It's nice seeing the touch, but again, you want to trust the left hand so people don't start to just cut off the right. And now you're getting not exposed, but for lack of a better term, now we're worried about you going left, and that's a thing that defense is going, they pick up on. But this is great for his confidence. This is a team with the Trailblazers that really, their direction is development. They don't have a lot of talent. There's not a lot of strong talent on this team. There's not a lot of winning in their future, at least this season. So if we can see Scoot gain confidence throughout this season, trust himself to continue to take these shots, continue to trust himself going downhill, continue to develop as a playmaker, because we know that that's what one of his strengths really is. Absolutely. Now we really can start to get excited about Scoot. I've been loving the effort that I've been seeing out of him as well. If especially if he's making a mistake, he's still engaged. He's not quitting on himself. He's not quitting on a play. He's still trying to make the most of it. But this is a nice trailer for what we can hope can continue to become a movie. If he can just continue to be aggressive, continue to be confident in his three-point shot, then I can see this continuing to translate. Am I going to expect him to average 25 points for the rest of the season? No, nobody's expecting that. But in your sophomore season, continue to be efficient, continue to take smart shots, and just continue to develop in that light, and people will stop trying to make you the butt of every single joke.
And that motor is on display when he's still playing hard when they're down 20 points, because that's usually how every Blazers game goes.
The Blazers aren't great.
They're just down, and he still gets his reps in there. I really think the biggest thing for him is just the shooting, and if it can continue, then it's a bright spot right now. From the corner, he's been one of the best corner shooters.
Been fucking lights out.
He's been amazing from there. I think what Chauncey's probably telling him is that, listen, nothing else in your game is gonna work unless you can hit threes. Unless you can make defenses respect your 3-point shot, nothing else is really gonna work in your game. So I like that he hasn't been hesitating. Whenever defenders have been going under his screens, he's pulling up, he's shooting, he's not hesitating on it at all. I feel like in his rookie year there was kind of a second thought about it, and I think now he's being more encouraged to just shoot it and let it go, and he's been averaging 7 to 8 3-point attempts over the last couple of games. And he's been hitting them. So I think that's a bright spot. And once he can consistently have a 3-point shot that now defenders have to worry about a little bit more, maybe going over a screen, that can now open up his game to driving lanes and, passing lanes and all that. So I think that's the number one thing in his game that has to be consistent, the 3-point shot. And that's what this year for the Blazers is about, just development and making sure that he's maximizing his ceiling for the future.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's confidence. John mentioned it. When you get touted as Derrick Rose and John Morant 2.0 and all of these insane players that had success pretty early on in your career, and then your rookie season, you go out there and by all accounts, everyone's calling you a bust, everyone's calling you trash, wrong pick, whatever it might be. It's natural that your game is just, you're not going to have the confidence that night in, night out, you're going to be able to improve. Even if you were in a different situation where you didn't have as much pressure, you're able to try some different things and, just night in, night out, not have that pressure that you were such a top draft pick, highly touted prospect. I think this season, though, it's a lot about confidence. I feel like his game is just smoother in general, like whether he's coming down off of a screen and pulling up or attacking the rim, he's not having as many hesitations there. My really only concern is one, does he become like a good shooter or is he just having a good stretch? And he's super young it's way too early to even have that discussion. But number two is just Portland in like a whole. They're just acquiring young talent, which is good, right? Like I love Shaedon Sharp's game. Scoot, Donovan Clingan's been really good as a rookie. Of course, I traded for Rob Will a couple years ago, although he's in like his late 20s at this point. But you just kind of worry that they're accumulating all of this young talent, but it's like, what are you doing with it? It's like at some point, and again, it's still super early on for Houston or for Portland, but at some point you kind of want to have like a Houston season from last year where towards the second half of the year, post All-Star break, all of a sudden you go on this run, you're like the 11th seed and you kind of flirt with that playing, because at some point, development only goes so long. Ownership and fans are going to want wins at some point. If not, Chauncey's probably going to get fired. I don't know if Chauncey's really the right person for this job, but it's good to see Scoot just have some confidence, be the player we saw he was, and the prospect we saw he was. But overall, it's been, cool to see. This is at one point a guy that should trade Jaylen Brown for, so I'm happy that eventually, hopefully he could reach that level.
There's 4 to 5 players on the Blazers I think are actually going to be with them like 3 years from now. I think that's Scoot. I think that's Shaedon. I think that's Tamani Kamara, and I think that's Clingan. That's the 4.
Yeah,
I think
Kamara's
those are the
really
only
good,
ones
really
that
good defender.
are going to be there long term. DeAndre Ayton, I think down the line will be a trade piece.
Right.
Rob will be a trade piece. Jeremy Grant, same thing. Anthony Simons, same thing. I think it's about them just figuring out their core and what they're going to
be
do
in that core.
Oh yeah, Denny Avdia. Sorry, I forgot about Denny Avdia because he was in Street Clothes the other day. I didn't know.
You're crazy.
Was that the only game you've watched?
No,
I want to blame
Because he's been playing very damn well.
He's been fucking cooking.
This is a career year.
So then
for
it's
him
Denny
now.
Avdia. You got the 4th spot right there. So I think they have to start prioritizing their young talent more, especially Clingan. Clingan needs to be more in the mix with them and what they do.
Absolutely. I will say something this is me repeating myself. We've seen guard prospects in the past have a quiet, disappointing rookie season, and the first name I think of is De'Aaron Fox, who to me is more burst, and De'Aaron became a elite, sensational finisher in some seasons. That to me is really what Scoot should be striving to kind of reach that level as a scorer. And now I don't believe he has quite the same level of burst and pop, but if he can develop that shooting, it really can make a huge difference. And I think that's really the player that I keep coming back to, because it took De'Aaron 3 years to finally hit that stride. But once he did, he was a key building block and a franchise pillar for the Kings. So I feel like the Blazers have that. And I also have a gut feeling, too, There's nothing else that I can really say other than it's a gut feeling that they get Cooper Flag this year.